Welcome to the Tobago House of Assembly's Post-Executive Council Media Briefing for week ending August 18th, 2012. Finance Secretary Dr. Anselm London defends the construction of an administrative complex for the Division of Agriculture, Marine Affairs, Marketing and the Environment.
Let me say I take great exception to any attempt to discredit the character and the professionalism of any of my colleagues in the Tobago House of Assembly, indeed of anyone, and of the organization of which I am a part, the Executive Council. I have seen on the television yesterday, particularly on Channel 5, some of the worst examples of sophistry and obfuscation with respect to that project. So let me state very, very clearly that what Mr. Coker and I guess Mr. Baines, the sort of images that they were portraying, and I know Mr. Baines is a man of God, as we all are, but I take exception to the remarks that were made, cast in a way against the Executive Council as a whole, and particularly against my colleague, Mr. Melville. Now, let me say, the Division of Agriculture is the ultimate beneficiary of this project. They are the end users. They were not part of the financial and other arrangements. The Division of Finance was, as was the Division of Infrastructure. Let me deal first with the price of the land. Now, how much land are we talking about? Mr. Coker quoted a number of 40,000 square feet. That, for the public of Tobago, ladies and gentlemen, that is false. It is 3 acres of land, and last time I checked my arithmetic, that is over 120,000 square feet. So to get on the television and report that we bought 40,000 acres of land, when you know, because he himself or their party's principals are involved in land investments at Table Peace and in Indian Point, they know that, and to suggest that we paid some exorbitant sum for that money for that land, I think it is wrong. I think it is also important to let the public of Tobago know that the price was not decided by the Chief Secretary or the Secretary of Finance. This is a price adjudicated upon by the Valuation Division of the Government of Trinidad and Tobago. We are not land dealers, so we send the information to the Valuation Division, tell us what is a fair price for that. And that was done. And I think Mr. Coker knows better. He knows better to suggest somehow that all of the Executive Council and the people of Tobago are either mad or foolish, tells us much about what he thinks about our capacity to manage ourselves as an island. Another red herring that the man, Mr. Coker and I guess Mr. Baines, threw into the mix was, well, you know, it's going to cost a lot of money over the years. I wonder if any of us, you've ever bought a house or you bought a car because of a thing called interest. The showroom price of the house or the car is always less than what your monthly payments when you add them up over the years. That is no mystery. If you ever went to buy a car on hire purchase or you buy a house, a mortgage, that is what happens. But in this particular case, what happened? At the end of the period, we own the building. That is this kind of bolt arrangement that he's talking about. You own the building. During the period, you don't have to pay rent, and you own property. These are the same people who were saying the Assembly is paying too much rent in town. Well, we are reached a stage now where we are going to own property, and the staff and secretary of the Division of Agriculture need their space like anybody else. So the attempt to impugn the integrity of the project itself and the process is something that I take great, great exception to. And let me, for purposes of public education, the way you get to own the project over a period of time, it involves what they call a BOLT project, build, operate, lease, transfer. That's what it means. And this is nothing new to Trinidad and Tobago. The Hall of Justice in Port of Spain, built the same way. I understand the Nallis Library, the same way. I know that the Hyatt, the much maligned, the formerly much maligned Hyatt, and the financial center, the International Financial Center, that the TOP did not like, but now occupy, they and their friends, that's financed through this kind of ways. So it's no mystery. So then, in another case of this sort of sophistry and trying to fool people and the mama guy people, why you didn't go to Section 51.5 and borrow money. That is a half-truth. The Tobago House of Assembly does not have direct access to the market except with permission of the Minister of Finance. And let me say to you, that is why in the Constitution that was, the constitutional proposals that were passed in the House, those proposals give direct authority to the Tobago House of Assembly, preventing you from running like a puppy dog to some Minister of Finance to ask him permission to go. That is not the Tobago that we envisage. So Mr. Coker and the TOP should do their homework, understand how these financial mechanisms work before, in effect, trying to mislead the public of Tobago that somehow the Executive Council, the Secretary of Finance, the Secretary of Agriculture, Infrastructure, we are all so foolish and unschooled that we are prepared to go make a deal like that. And Mr. Coker ought to apologize to anybody who has any understanding as to how these things work. Let me also say a little bit about the process, because he tries to impugn the character of other people. That is wrong. I want to let you know, members of the press, members of the public, that we received an unsolicited proposal from the project proponents, as we call it. What did the THA do? With respect to the price of the land, the THA said, what we need to do is we are going to send this to an independent set of people to decide what is the price of the land. That was done by the Valuation Division, and I have all the records here. But then in terms of the project itself and the cost of the building, what the Assembly did, the Assembly had the project reviewed by an independent set of people, Project Specialists Limited, people who have banking and engineering experience. That was done. Suggestions were made to us. We said, go and talk to the principal, reach agreement. Having spoken to the principals, they reconsidered their proposals, and we were advised by the independent consultants, now you have something that you can sign upon. And that is what the Assembly did. And in fact, that is the process that we apply. We don't get ourselves involved directly. You get competent people outside of what your daily task to say, listen, evaluate this for me. We evaluated the price of the land, and it came to a price. We agreed. We evaluated the terms and conditions of the project, and that is it. So let me just say here that I am very disappointed that you are going to use a project that seems that wants to advance the prospects for Tobago to try to use that to sully the name, to attempt to sully the name of people. That I take exception to. The Executive Council is a stable, understanding body and knows what it is doing. and for Mr. Coker and the TOP to tell the world, and I say it openly, to tell the world that somehow the Assembly overpaid for land is wrong. Mr. Coker knows better because he is familiar with several real estate deals here in Tobago, and I think he owes, as a minimum, the Secretary for Agriculture an apology for his remarks, and also the Executive Council.
The Chief Secretary also added his voice to the issue.
Mr. Coker indicated that, and of course Mr. Jack, that is one of the most expensive pieces of real estate in the island. Now, and I think he said that, and by saying that, you insult the intelligence of the people of Tobago, because what is the arithmetic? The land costs $12 million. It's 3 acres of land. That's a minimum of 120,000 square feet. So basically, that land was being sold at $100 per square foot. A land in the middle of one of the most prized areas for real estate in the island. And I think anybody who knows anything about land, and you don't have to even to be a real estate agent, will know that $100 per square foot for land in Canaan Bon Accord on the highway at the intersection of those two roads is a steal of a deal. And as I said, you can check it. You can go and measure the land. It's 3 acres. The documents are there. And as Dr. London indicated, it was in fact the valuation actually was confirmed by the valuation division. And the second thing that I wanted to treat with, and I just want to reiterate something that Dr. London said, and that is in relationship to a bolt arrangement. A bolt arrangement, as far as we're concerned, is really a government hire purchase. That's the reality. Because you just simply do not have the money in order to purchase the land. Because one of the things that was not said by the chairman or his political leader is that even if you borrow money, you've got to pay interest on the money. And at the end of the exercise, the total amount of money you spend is more or less going to be the same. And what they did not say is that under no administration, whether it is PP, PNM, UNC, whatever, has the Assembly ever got enough funding to take care of its major infrastructural needs. And therefore you had to do one of two things. Either save over a period of time, and that's the way that we would have done the financial complex and that we're attempting to do the library and the cultural complex. But money is finite, money runs out. And therefore when your money is likely to run out, you have two choices. You either do nothing, and therefore your development stalls, or you utilize whatsoever the creative measures that you can utilize in order to achieve your objectives. And the creative measures that we would have utilized are the same measures that have been utilized by governments throughout the world and governments of Trinidad and Tobago over the years, because it's the only way you can get things done and get things done quickly. And I want to just indicate that regardless of how desperate a political party might be, or how desperate its representatives might be, that is no excuse for attempting to perpetuate these kind of lies and half-truths and innuendos, and to castigate and cast aspersions on people like that. That is despicable. That is not how the way in which we know politics in Tobago. That is not the way Tobagonians behave to Tobagonians. And I would strongly advise Mr. Coker, Mr. Jack, and all of them that they have a responsibility to indicate to the people of Tobago that they are deserving of their trust. And you do not attempt to get the trust of people by, one, taking them for fools, and by, secondly, putting information into the public domain that can be so easily refuted. And to have done it once, done it twice, done it 3 times, it shows that it was deliberate and that it was meant to create a particular kind of response on the part of Tobagonians. And I'm saying that that is not only unfair, it is dishonest, and it is not going to work.
For their success in England, Mr. London congratulated the Trinidad and Tobago Olympic team.
You know, sometimes you tend only to look at those who have won medals, not recognizing that there are individuals who would have done their best and in fact would have achieved success in their own way without necessarily mounting the prize rostrum. And it is in that context that I want to extend my congratulations to our own Kellyanne Batiste and of course our own Seymour Hackett, two young ladies who would in their own way have made history. First Trinidad and Tobago female athlete to make it to the finals in the 100 and then in the 200 meters in the case of Kellyanne and Seymour. And of course, all those other athletes, cyclists, Nizen Phillips, the hurdler, Gio Gordon, and all those athletes who would have reached the finals. Because one has got to understand by reaching the finals, you have signaled that you are among the top 8 persons in that particular event in the world. And when you think of a situation where 204 athletes, 204 countries, sorry, are participating in the Olympic Games at the different stages. And when you understand that in a country like India, they're celebrating because they won 6 medals this year, you'll understand when you look at the size of India and the size of Trinidad and Tobago, why we've got to put our victory in perspective. I of course, commend the central government for its response to Keishon Walcott. I don't believe that anything he gets that he doesn't deserve. And I am hopeful that, that the young fellow is level-headed enough so that he will not allow, the accolades to go to his head, but that he will remain focused and ensure that the accolades and the praises and the rewards and so on will serve to inspire him and to let him understand that at 84, 85 meters, he's still some way off from the kind of performance which he will have to put out consistently if he is to, become somebody to be reckoned with in the field of javelin. It's very, very competitive, and he will have to be, getting close to 90 meters consistently, so that he still has some way to go. But at 19 years old, with the people peaking normally, javelin throwers will peak in their mid-20s, I think that he is an excellent, he has excellent potential. And, just by observing him, I think he's a level-headed young man. I would want to especially commend our own Lalon Gordon for his medal in the 400 meters. I think we all are aware, just by looking at the way in which he ran that race, it was not just, as I said in one of the press releases, it was not just about talent. It was not just about, strength and speed, etc. But there was a certain level of determination and commitment and focus that really took him over those last 30 meters, and I think that is something that we should in fact commend him, and that should serve to be an inspiration. I am aware that Josan Lucas and Rennie Kwao were injured out. I did speak to both of them over the last couple of days, and they are obviously disheartened because not only did they miss the Olympics, but they have to go through a fairly long period of rehab. And I gave them the assurance that Tobago remains behind them, and I let them understand that we are not going to be supportive of them only when they are successful. And on behalf of the Tobago House of Assembly, I would have pledged to them any support that they need to take them through this difficult, both physical and mental state in which they're in at this point in time. Now, in relationship to the Tobago House of Assembly and what the Tobago House of Assembly is doing, to a certain extent, we are going to be constrained or influenced by the availability of the athletes. As I indicated, both Josan and Rennie are unlikely to be able to travel for a little while. I have not spoken to Kellyanne and Simoy myself, but based on the information that I have received from persons who have been in contact with them, they are not likely to be available for a little while themselves because they have commitments in Europe. Lalon Gordon is likely to be available sometime during the course of this month, and therefore we are in contact with him and his family in the United States, and based on the kind of information that we get from him, we will then be able to know how we can arrange to have him honored in Tobago, and we are looking at ways and means by which we can honor him. Of course, in the Tobago context, we have precedent as to how we honor our athletes who have done well, and we will use that to guide us in relationship to what should be done about, not just about Lalon, but the other Tobago athletes who would have performed credibly at the Olympics.
The Chief Secretary informed the media of his letter to the Minister of National Security regarding UDICOT's ad for the tendering of 8 police stations in Trinidad.
Prior to that, we had discussions with the UDICOT officials who had indicated that they had been mandated by the central government to give priority to these 8 police stations. So I have written to the Minister of National Security indicating my concern over the omission of the police station at Roxbury and Old Grange in Tobago from the recent list of stations to be constructed by the central government. And I indicated that you would recall that under the previous administration, priority had been given to the construction of 2 police stations in Tobago. My information is that contracts had been awarded and work was scheduled to start in the 3rd quarter of 2010. You'll also be aware that soon after the present government assumed office in May 2010, the Assembly was informed that the process for the award of contracts was being reviewed, but that there would be no significant delay to the start of construction. It is therefore quite disheartening that more than 2 years after, there's still no indication that construction will start anytime soon. And I indicated to the Minister that this situation is untenable. And therefore, on behalf of the people of Tobago, I'm urging you to take appropriate action to ensure that the police stations at Roxbury and Old Grange are constructed in the shortest possible time. I remain available for further discussion on this critical issue. And I think that this is something that I hope that the Minister will address, and address speedily and address effectively, because I think that it is really, as we would say in Tobago, overbearing. That, more than 2 years after, when you came in, met a process in place, and I have absolutely no problem if there's a process and you're not comfortable with it and you wish to have it reviewed, you might even wish to have it changed. But as far as I'm concerned, you've got to understand that the objective has to be that these police stations should be constructed as a matter of urgency, and I'm hoping that that situation will be addressed. I want to put this in a manner that one would not feel that we're making excuses. But I'm becoming a little concerned at the way in which the Tobago House of Assembly is almost being held ransom by agencies outside of the Tobago House of Assembly. And in many cases, our projects are now being held up because of the situation with the agencies. Now, if you look, for example, at our malls, the malls, the community malls at Codler Hall, at Signal Hill, at Plymouth, they've all been, work on them has almost stalled. In some cases are stalled, simply because the contractors are waiting on approval from the EMA with respect to the sewer system. And, you sometimes ask yourself, should I speak about it or should I not speak about it? Because if you speak about it, it looks as if you're making excuses. But if you don't speak about it, you send in a signal, as if, well, it is your fault and you're deliberately holding up the process. It's a similar situation that we have at T&Tech, at Cove, where there's some delay because of some challenges with T&Tech. It's a similar problem that we have still have at the financial complex and some of the other areas where the Wassa connection, even at the Plymouth at Adventure, the Adventure Housing Project, the connections with Wassa, you know, we having some challenges. So I'm just saying that, you know, we will continue to liaise with the agencies. For the most part, we have excellent relationships with them, but the bureaucratic administrative structure is such that it can be quite frustrating at times. And just an idea of a couple deliverables or a couple activities which I think will be of interest. On Tuesday the 28th, we will be turning the sod for the swimming pool at Kendall, and that will be in the afternoon. I think it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I like turning sod under those circumstances. I don't like turning sod and then you have to wait 2 months for the work to start. Work has started, so you know you have a certain comfort level that you're not going to be embarrassed. So we're going to turn sod, although the work has started for that particular facility. I think the lead time is going to be completed maybe it's a year, 18 months. I think they would have given us. But by the time we do the opening, we get all those details. The Bloody Bay Rest Stop is also going to be opened. I think it is next Tuesday at 3 p.m. And the Secretary with responsibility for Agriculture, Marine Affairs, Marketing and Environment has indicated that the quotations have been received for the demolition of the Plymouth Jetty, and he expects that the contract will be awarded and that demolition should take place before the end of the month. We will then indicate what we intend to do because there are some legal and other issues which we have to treat before we can determine what we're going to do and where we're going to do it. So,
thanks for watching the Tobago House of Assembly's Post Executive Council Media Briefing for week ending August 18th, 2012. For the Department of Information, I am Sophie Guillaume.